Okay, we had a bit of a technical problem there, but welcome everybody to our October 15th meeting. This is a hybrid meeting. We have people online as well as people in the audience. So I'm going to call the meeting to order and start off with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nation, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Tugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaties First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Thank you. I'll just remind everyone to please turn your cell phones off or place them on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And I'll remind council of the declaration of pecuniary interest. If it arises, you should declare it then. I'm going to start off with an introduction here. Travis, if you wanted to bring Samantha up, it's our new planner.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's my pleasure to introduce Samantha Deck as our planner for HBM. Her first day is actually today, so it's great we have a council meeting today. Samantha graduated with a Bachelor of Environmental Design and Planning honors degree, as well as landscape design and advanced diploma. She's been with the municipality of Brighton for the last 5 years, doing everything that we need her to do here. Samantha is recognized for efficient communication, organization skills, and her strong work ethic. Samantha brings a wealth of knowledge and experience and will be a strong asset to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. We're very excited to welcome her to her team.
Okay, well, thank you and welcome, Samantha. And
thank you.
Look forward to working with you. It's a good time of year probably to start to get your feet wet. I don't know whether it's pretty busy right now, but over the winter it'll give you a chance.
Already, so we're good.
That's good.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Wonderful to meet you all. Thank you.
Okay. So our next item on the agenda is minutes from the October 1st council meeting. For motion to receive those, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the next item here is a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment. I'll look for a motion to go into that public meeting. Moved by Councillor Clement, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so this is a statutory public meeting held under Section 39 of the Planning Act. Any person may attend the public meeting and or make verbal or written representation either in support of or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. Please keep your video off and microphone muted during the meeting until the chair invites you for comments regarding the planning matter. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So with that, we'll move into our zoning bylaw amendment. And Alicia, you're on screen, so you can take over.
Thank you very much, Mayor Martin. And through you, good morning, everybody, both the council and members of the public. Purpose and effect of this application is to present for the consideration of members of the public and council an application to amend the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 1995-42 as amended to support the redevelopment of the subject property via the demolition of the existing dwelling unit and its replacement with a new dwelling unit. The subject property is 41 Fire Route 8A, also described as Part Lot 15, Concession 3 in the Belmont Ward. The applicant of the zoning bylaw amendment is Mark Perkin, and the property is approximately 1,259 square meters, which is about 1/3 of an acre. The property has just under 29 meters of frontage on Crow River. The property is currently developed with a one-story dwelling with an attached deck, 2 sleeping cabins, and a shed. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing dwelling and replace it with an 87 square meter, 1.5 story dwelling, which would have a 32.5 square meter attached deck. The applicant is also proposing to demolish the 2 existing sleeping cabins and the shed, and to instead erect just one 13.5 square meter sleeping cabin with a 2.8 square meter deck. The existing dwelling is located 10.3 meters from the high water mark of Crow River, while the existing attached deck is approximately 7 meters from the high water mark. And the new dwelling is proposed to be located 20.6 meters from the high water mark, with the new deck being no closer than 18.2 meters from the high water mark. So the amendment to the zoning bylaw would represent an improvement to the high water mark. The new sleeping cabin will be located further from the shoreline than the new proposed dwelling as well. So for the sleeping cabin to be located a sufficient distance from the new dwelling, that sleeping cabin is proposed to be located within the required setback to the interior side yard. And that's because sleeping cabins are held to a different standard than just a normal shed or an accessory structure. We apply the dwelling setbacks to it because, there's some living area in there, but the property is narrow and undersized, and the proposed location for the sleeping cabin being a little bit closer to that side lot line is required so that the septic system can also be introduced to the site. And that would be outside of the 30-meter setback to the high water mark. In total, the relief from the zoning bylaw currently being requested is to reduce the required front yard setback and setback from the high water mark from 21.3 meters and 30 meters respectively to 18.2 meters for the attached deck and to 20.6 meters to the new dwelling. An amendment is also being sought for the setback to the side lot line, as I mentioned, to permit a 3.3 meter setback instead of the required 6 meter setback. The application, as I mentioned, represents general improvement to the site with fewer accessory structures and increased setbacks to the river. Following the review and assessment of this application within the context of the relevant land use planning policies, it is our opinion that the subject application conforms to the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the County of Peterborough official plan, the Township official plan, and is consistent with the provincial policy statement. Public notice was posted on site and mailed to surrounding property owners in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. And I am happy to answer any questions from council or members of the public. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alicia. Okay, so the way the process works, I'll be asking 3 times if anybody's in opposition to this application, followed by 3 times anybody in favor of the application. And then I'll open up to council. So for the first time, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? And third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I'll open it up to anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application. I don't know if the applicant's here. Okay. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, not at this time, thank you.
Okay. All right then. Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application? And third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? All right, I'll open it up to council. Is there any questions or comments with this application? Deputy Mayor Webb.
Pretty straightforward. I think it's just down from my cottage. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, so that's moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we approve this as we go with the recommendation. Second by Councillor Flagler. Any other questions?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Question. Is this proposed demolition of the existing dwelling, is there an option there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the demolition would be required in order to put the new dwelling on the site. There wouldn't simply be room for 2 dwellings, and it's my understanding that the applicant has already begun the permitting process to demolish the existing dwelling.
So it's not proposed then anymore.
Sorry, through the mayor, the application for the demolition has begun. I can't speak to any demolition that has already occurred, but I do know that the permitting process has begun. Thank you.
Any comments, questions? Okay, all right, so we have a mover and a seconder for this. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. All right, so that's all we have for zoning bylaw amendment. I'll look for a motion to turn it over to the deputy. Go out of the, we didn't go out of the public meeting. You can take a motion to do that. Okay. Motion to move out of the public meeting, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? Carried. And, do you want that motion there? No, that's okay. Okay, all right then, so we're in the open, so now I'm gonna look for a motion to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Webb for minor variance. Councillor Clement, second by Councillor Flagler, all in favor, carried.
Thank you, Mayor Martin and members of Committee of Adjustment. I'll call this public meeting to order and remind members of the committee of the requirement to disclose any pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof if the occasion arises. This public meeting is held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations. We'll now have our planning consultant, I guess, Alicia, present the one application for today. So Alicia, take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and through you, the only minor variance application being discussed today is file number A-14-24. And this application was submitted by DM Wills on behalf of property owner Kirk Thomas. The property is municipally known as 9,351 County Road 30, is located on part lot 3, concession 9, and has a roll number being 1531-010-001-02100. The property is nearly 2 hectares, therefore nearly 5 acres, and is zoned local commercial 1 zone and is designated rural. The applicants are seeking to add a self-storage facility to the existing property, which is a permitted use. And as part of this application, a reduction to the parking requirements of the zoning bylaw is being requested. The applicants are seeking to reduce the required parking from 72 parking spaces to 2 parking spaces. The decision on this application was deferred by the committee to provide an opportunity to review the proposed parking configuration and to take public and committee comments into consideration. DM Wills has provided responses to the questions and comments received by members of the public and the committee, and staff have reviewed DM Wills' responses. Based on the information provided within those responses and in the initial submission, staff maintained the initial recommendation to approve the minor variance as proposed. The traffic impact study that was submitted with the application does not provide any concern for the reduced parking spaces. And the site will be configured so that the temporary car parking can be provided in drive aisles of the self-storage facility immediately outside of a user storage locker unit. So, as you're traversing the site, going to your locker unit, you can pull over and park there to load and unload. The other 2 parking spaces are intended to be provided as an overflow area for any visitors not attending a storage unit that they're renting and or for employee parking. The applicant has said that only 1 parking space will be required for an employee at any given time. Though not relevant to the minor variance for parking, the applicants are proposing to securely gate the entrance of the facility, and other fencing and security measures will continue to be reviewed through the site plan control process at the property owner's discretion. And that's because this is a commercial development, so there is a site plan control process already underway. It is my professional opinion that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, is in keeping with the provincial policy statement, and meets the intent of the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. As such, it is my recommendation that the application be approved with the conditions included in the staff report. And again, very happy to answer any questions from the committee or members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report, Alicia. Is the applicant or their agent present with us today or online? Yeah. Okay. Not hearing anything, so we'll move on. Is there anyone present or online today wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Is there anyone present or online wishing to speak in favor of this application? Second time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? So no comments today on this, so I will open up to members of the committee for comments or questions or motion. Councillor Clement, go ahead.
So through you, Chair, I have a couple of questions. I don't know that this is the right time or not about the need to go back to page 52 here. I know some of the constituents were concerned about the fencing and stuff and the hedges. At what point do we look after that?
I believe Alicia addressed that a little bit. I think that will be dealt with when we move on to the next phase for a site plan approval, but we have our CPO here, Travis Toms. Travis, would you like to comment possibly on that?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that part of the application will be dealt with through site plan control. So at that time, we can talk about the buffers, the fencing, lighting, stormwater, all that stuff. And although that's been delegated to staff, taken away from council for the majority, Samantha's already come up with one suggestion today that if council wishes, they could add that as a condition that the site plan agreement come back to council for approval.
Perfect.
He's doing good work already then, eh?
Yeah.
And just for clarification, you said before the meeting, Travis, that this is just to deal with the parking spots.
Minor variance is strictly for the two parking.
Okay, so there's a little bit of clarity for the committee. Councillor.
Perhaps through your chair, perhaps I missed it, but the site says there's going to be 9 units, 9 buildings. Is that right? How
Through the chair.
many actual units are there going to be? I know there's 28,000 some odd square feet so it's just going to be 9 rentals.
Through the chair, there will be more than more units than the buildings themselves. I don't believe that we have confirmed the exact number of units per, because there may be a different, size unit per each building. But that is something that I can bring back to committee for further information if you'd like. And I can quickly take a peek at the site plan just to see if there's something that is proposed. Again, it's not something that we would sort of control through the zoning. It would be looked at through site plan.
If I may follow up, well, I realize it's going to be a site plan, but
The site plan right
does
now.
this not affect the traffic flow?
I will share my screen if
It's part of the
permission was
presentation.
given.
She's trying to bring it up, Councillor Dornis. She's trying to bring the site plan up, I believe.
Well,
Yes,
I've
thank you
I've
for
got the
checking.
site plan. It's the site plan I'm not concerned about. I'm concerned about the flow of traffic without knowing how many units are going to be in. Because 9 units creates nine customers. And if you divide the 28,000 by 400, that's 75 units. So that creates more traffic. I'm just wondering how DW Wills did the traffic flow based on 9 or some other figure or an abstract. Thank you.
Through the chair, I did just pull up the site plan and I can share it, but there is no specific unit count on each of the buildings. As I mentioned, I believe there's some flexibility currently being provided for just knowing the building size and then fitting those units in between. I can provide some clarity on the traffic report. They're effectively what the engineer does is review other land uses for precedent and how many parking spaces would be provided to a use such as this. In addition, they look at traffic counts present on County Road 30. And then they do calculations based on modeling. So it isn't necessarily based on the exact number of units provided, but through other existing traffic expectations and, as I mentioned, other precedents for this type of use.
Sufficient. I guess it'll have to be. Thank you. Thank you for that, Alicia. Had a good discussion here. Does anyone Any more questions, and look for a motion from the committee? Mayor Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'd make a motion that we approve application E1424. And then, part of it, what was that you wanted added in, or that you suggested to add in there?
That's three, Mr. Chair, is
Site plan?
which is the site plan comes back to council for approval. We would add that.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
You'd like that as a
Yeah.
condition?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, okay, do I have a seconder for the motion? Seconded by Councillor Clement,
Conditions.
with conditions. Comments or questions on the motion? If not, all in favor? And that's passed. Thank you very much for that, Alicia. I'll now take a motion to adjourn the public meeting and return back to our regular council meeting by Councillor Doherty, seconded by Councillor Flagler. All in favor? And that's passed. Thanks, Mayor Martin.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're gonna move into our regular meeting here, and we have two delegations scheduled today. So our first delegation here is Matthew Phillip with Unity Design. I think he's online, so welcome, Matthew. And this was with regards to the community center construction management.
Yes, good morning, Mayor Martin, councilors and staff. Thank you for having me today. Yes, I'm here today to present a synopsis of the construction management request for proposals for the community center renovation. Now, would you like me to share my screen for the presentation, or is the presentation available?
Who do you want to share? If you can share it on your end, that would help.
Quite sure if everybody can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the agenda is just a quick review of the construction manager request for proposal process, and then the outcome of the submissions that were submitted, and then we'll need council's direction and next steps through town staff reports. So the request for proposal process on September 9th of this year, the request for proposals for the construction management services of the community center renovations and additions was issued by the town through the bids and tenders website. The proposal process allowed all registered bidders to submit for this proposal, following the guidelines, of course, outlined in the document that was issued on that date. And the outcome of this process was to onboard a construction manager for the duration of phase one. Phase one being the roof renovations, the elevator, and interior renovations, with their focus and expertise towards project budget control, construction scheduling, and bidding and procurement of subtrades, and oversight of the overall construction project. As part of the proposal process, it is a requirement that construction managers to attend a mandatory site meeting, which was held on September 17th. 8 potential proponents attended this meeting with Unity Design Studio and members of town staff to further understand the project and walk through the building. The outcome of the submissions on October 3rd of this year, 2 construction manager proposals were submitted within the required time limit and with all required documents submitted, so they were deemed complete submissions. And these proposals were submitted by the following construction managers: Morlock Construction, located in Cavan, Monaghan, Ontario, and Beavermead Construction Limited, located in Peterborough, Ontario. So next steps with council's direction, the community center renovation addition project requires your direction through town's staff report and recommendations. to move forward into a CCDC 5B construction management contract with the town and the winning proponent. After council's recommendations, it's recommended to town staff to communicate to the winning proponent promptly following this the council meeting and formally engage in contracts with the said proponent. And I'll leave with any questions with town staff, councilors, or members of the public.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. And yeah, it's been a long time coming, and hopefully we can get moving on this. So, okay, so I'm just gonna open up the council here. So Deputy Mayor Webb, you had a question?
Yeah, just we got a few timeframes in here, so is it after this meeting we'll be directing one of these two companies to start work? I'm just a little bit confused as to, and what work are we talking? We're talking about the roof and
First phase, yeah.
okay, just for the public maybe to.
Yes, through you,
We're talking about.
through you, Mayor Martin, there is a staff report later in the meeting that recommends one of the proponents that bid for the project, and we are recommending the low bidder on this project.
So it's for this delegation, it's just to receive the delegation.
Yep, just receive the delegation. If you have any technical questions about the project or timelines, Unity Design is here to answer those questions. The report further in the meeting to approve the low bidder will come to council and hopefully receive council's approval, in which case the proponent will be contacted following the council meeting today, and work will start as soon as possible.
And sorry, just quickly, just for the public's, what's the work that's going to be done here? Like what are we talking about over the rate? We're talking about.
Matthew, do you want to repeat what you told us?
To chair, the phase one of the project currently is the restoration of the roof, a brand new elevator, and interior renovations in addition. Interior renovations can consist of washrooms and a new vestibule.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. This construction manager, is this part of the contract? Why is it separate? Would they not do that automatically? Have somebody that does that?
Through you, Chair. So this it is separate to our contract currently, and this one in particular allows, this one contract in particular allows sequential tenderings of sub-trades. So we want to get the roof first as an example while we're still designing the interior renovations with town's approval. So it helps construction process have sequential tenders and have construction on site while designing is still happening.
For clarification, who's paying for that?
It says in the report that it's from the grant
That's right. It's
Okay.
yeah, it's part of the grant
process.
through you, Mayor Martin. This is all part of the grant funding that was received for this project. And the construction management portion is part of this project, so someone needs to take the lead on that and coordinate all the sub-trades that are required. A, to repair the roof, and B, to oversee the renovations that are taking place inside.
So this was a stipulation in the grant to have this position?
No, not necessarily to have this position specifically, but in order to get the work done, you need this position.
Thank you.
Yeah, the last time I remember using my manager was when we did the wastewater treatment plant. We had somebody help us with that because we don't have the expertise in those.
Through your chair, I know it's part of the project, but was it part of the quote that Mortlock put in that they would have a construction manager on site for the roof? That's, I guess, or is it an additional charge to what we're going to look at later, I guess is.
Mortlock is the construction manager. So Mortlock will, any sub-trades that are required to do this will be tenured. And Mortlock will oversee that process to ensure that we're getting the right people for the right job.
If council moves forward.
Correct.
The next. Okay. All right, is there any other questions for Matthew? Motion to receive, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second. Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay,
Thank you, Matt.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Okay. All right, so our next delegation on the agenda is Alex Pascu and Terry Reese with regards to natural shoreline preservation. So welcome, Terry. Welcome, Alex. You timed that pretty good.
I got lucky.
Yeah,
Lucky.
yeah, come on up there. Maybe you can click the button on there for talking.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting us. Yeah, I just made it.
Traffic jam north
There you
of
go.
Havelock.
Red light on, you're good to go.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting us. I want to make a couple of introductions. Terry isn't feeling so well this morning, so he's joining us on Zoom. And he needs no introduction, but I will say just a couple of words. He's from Kashabog and a long time executive director of FOCA, recently moved on to greener pastures. I just want to, I read something that FOCA had put out. FOCA has advocated for the health of our lakes and ecosystems, boating and safety regulations. FOCA provides waterfront property owners with a united front standing up for the rights, and much of that organization's success can be attributed to Reese. So that's quoted in Cottage Life. So my partner in crime this morning. Terry has been true to form all along and has recently joined us in our initiative, the Shoreline Conservation Initiative. So who are we and what are our goals? We were formed as an offshoot of the Environmental Council for Clear, Stony and White Lakes in the fall of 2020. Peterborough County planning staff asked the Environmental Council to discuss with counties, townships, councils the urgent importance of discussing enhanced shoreline protection policies. Simultaneously and in response to widespread county concerns about the extensive damage being done to trees, natural vegetation, natural landscape and shoreline lots during the building, the rebuilding and the hard landscaping projects, it was believed that an alliance of county lakes was needed. And so the initiative was born. So who are we? We are 8 people, all representing different lakes. We represent Anstruther, Trent, Chandos, Jack, I'm from Jack, Stony, White, Clear Lakes, and now Terry, Kashabog. Our focus is on educating Lakers and non-Lakers about the importance of preserving and restoring natural shorelines, including protection of mature trees, natural vegetation, and overall lake health. And we're doing this by building consensus with local stakeholders, lake associations, and of course, you, local councils. Our goals are stronger, more protective policy protection for shorelines and natural heritage through the Peterborough County Official Plan, the implementation of local bylaws to protect at least 75% of the land within the riparian zone, and increased education of the lake communities, ecological and practical benefits of the natural shorelines. So what are we protecting? Real quick, I think you're all aware of the ribbon of life, the first 15 to 20 meters of shoreland and the shallow water next to it. 80 to 90% of lake life is born, raised, and fed where land meets the water, that riparian zone, what we call the ribbon of life. Up to 70% of land animals also depend on these shorelines. It's a complex habitat supporting plants, insects, birds, amphibians, on and on. By protecting this area, we also protect the surface and the groundwater quality, which slows the growth of aquatic invasive species and algae, which is a separate but related concern. Also, by protecting this area, we limit the impact of climate change since a natural shoreline and vegetation prevents drought. You know what? I should have been following the slides that Terry has prepared. And I don't know who's in charge of that, but we are up to slide number 3. Got these lovely new screens since I've been here. Great. Yeah, so just I've described a little bit, you know, what it is that we're after, what are we protecting? And just very briefly, you know, the next point, what brings people to the lakes? What is it that brings them there? And it's the pristine nature of the water and the surrounding environment. So why is preserving shorelines a municipal challenge in particular? To maintain quality of life, of course, considering the recent closings of several beaches, for instance, in Peterborough County, which brought green algae and blooms and prevented people from utilizing those lakes and prevented tourists from coming to those lakes and in turn, taking away from both tax base and the revenue that's generated by these people. So why do you want to do this? To sustain the tax base and local income? FOCA has estimated that Ontario cottagers bring in 700 million in tax revenue to more than 200 rural Ontario municipalities. The total Ontario household spending was 11,442 billion by 250,000 waterfront property owners in Ontario. So that brings in a fair bit of revenue to the province and the local municipalities. We also want to respond to the rising pace and size of waterfront development, recognizing our lakes, that the new money property owners have sometimes different perspectives on what it means to protect the shorelines. We also want to expand or address the expanding environmental responsibilities brought about by climate change. The province has, shall I say, dumped a lot of those responsibilities now on the municipalities, and it's very difficult for municipalities to rise to the occasion, but I think we need to meet those challenges. Okay, that's pretty much all I have now, and I'll hand it over to Terry for the remaining slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us here today. I appreciate your attention and the opportunity to talk to you about these important issues for so many people in our township. Just to be clear, I'm just here as an individual and not representing the local association, but I think you'll find that the comments that Alex and I are making are consistent with the things you're hearing from the HBMLA and from the others. And this is really just a chance to talk about this important issue for everyone in the township. So we appreciate the opportunity. I can see your slides there. Maybe you can just go to the next one, whoever's in control there. So there's lots happening, obviously, in the community. Ever since property values went through the roof in the GTA and elsewhere, there's been an exodus. A lot of people are retiring. There's been an exodus, which has been a boom in rural communities, including Havelock and Peterborough County generally. So with the movement of people to the community and people moving there full time, it means there's a lot of investment going on, which presumably is a great thing for the local economy, but also has some important factors that we need to manage for. And that includes just altering our landscapes, as Alex has pointed out, hardening our shorelines, and managing ourselves in a way that collectively, individually and collectively, is not going to impact the overall resource. Could you go to the next slide? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Maybe just go back one. I think I maybe missed that one there. Yeah. So here's what can happen. We've got a wonderful shoreline. This is why people come here. It's lovely vistas, healthy and thriving environment. But there's lots of pressures. Obviously, there's some short-term rentals happening. So there's more people on the landscape more of the time. There's lots of rebuilding. So we're doing lots of things in the landscape, and collectively we need to figure out how to not kill the golden goose, I guess. So that's why it requires a sort of all of society approach, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. Next slide. So understanding that planning's got to be a flexible type of proposition, especially in areas that have got strange sized lots and topography and whatnot. There needs to be accommodation for, even within a strong zoning bylaw scheme, that people are allowed to develop and use and enjoy their properties in a reasonable way. You know, we have to appreciate that there's at some point there should be a limit to what a minor variance looks like and what that might do if, you know, if multiplied by 10 or 20 or 50 properties on a common water body. So this is the kind that might happen, and this is a dramatic example from Jack Lake, but we just have to be mindful of when the flexibility of planning, very important, but we need to be mindful of that. And I'm sure that's what the council considers as you consider your planning decisions, as we saw today and in every council meeting.
Can I just interject here for one second? I'm looking at this. This is on Jack Lake, and this just happened within the last year. And it's a result of almost, I mean, if you can see clear cutting, entirely clear cutting. And, you know, it's a tiny island. It's not even a 2-acre island. And it's, yeah, you can see what's happened to it.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Next slide. So shoreline education is a big deal. Obviously, we've all got a role there. General interested citizens like Alex and I, our lake associations, we need to be able to get at our existing members through whatever means we can through the lake associations. So there's an important role for the people that manage and oversee and administer our communities like yourselves to provide good counsel and guidance to people that will come and support our community in a positive and sustainable way. There's a role for real estate and lawyers to understand what's not just possible, but what's makes sense. Helping the building trades to likewise encourage sustainable shoreline practices, and of course, people that are doing work on the landscape as far as arborists, landscapers, and nurseries. And I think we had to do a lot of tree work in our area due to storm damage and other a maturing forest in our area, and I think there's lots of good advocates that we need to continue to work through and ultimately to have sustainable and thriving shoreline areas in our community. So next slide. I worked over a couple of years as a steering committee member with the Watersheds Canada folks on a program called Planning for Our Shorelands, and they've got all sorts of resources. Many of the links are in this presentation, and I'm happy to share more with you. They did a survey of lake associations and planners and elected officials across Ontario, and came up with a couple of things. Obviously, the same kind of themes about education are so important, but also that needs to be backed in with common sense, practical but meaningful zoning bylaws that have some enforcement behind them. Understanding that is a trick in a small community with diverse, lots of miles between properties, and it's a big role. But understanding that in the end, if there's not rules that people are can follow and they're guided by, it's going to be difficult to drive the kind of communities that we want. And we're hoping to hear at some point from council whether you support our education efforts, which we'll talk a bit more about in a second, but also interested to know when a good hard look at the zoning bylaws in Havelock are going to be looked at. So we'll talk about that maybe at the end. So next slide. There's lots of examples around. Obviously, we're not the only water heavy community. Sorry.
Oh,
obviously, we're not the only community that's got a huge waterfront presence and population. So there are others that have undertaken the kind of important zoning and bylaw work. Halliburton notably have got a couple of examples that have lessons learned that can be applied elsewhere, including here. Township of Muskoka Lakes and Lake of Bays has got a novel community planning permit system, which I know Mr. Tom's talked about. Site plan control that's generally does not apply to residential lots. And our challenge, of course, in our community is that we're mostly fully built out with all of our lovely places we built too close to the water, probably 50 or 70 years ago. And but we do need to figure out how we're going to develop and redevelop our community in a meaningful way, and it might not be through site plan control and vegetation control, but that's something that we need to consider how to get at that. Next slide. Excuse me. So there are some other resources. Watersheds Canada's, of course, got many of the lakes in our area have done the Love Your Lake and Natural Edge programs. Those would be available, and probably something worth our local groups considering asking council for a little bit of support. It's usually not too expensive, but it's a chance to do really direct landowner outreach. Peterborough Green Up has got a ton of great resources about natural habitats, landscapes, shorelines, plantings, etc. So they're a great resource. And like I say, the environment programming, which I tend to think has been undersubscribed so far, but I think there's an opportunity here where we can use that for our community benefit and mutual benefit. Next slide. So we're curious, HBM might undertake to borrow and steal liberally, as I've done many times over my career, to take a lot of these best practices and good examples and help with a campaign to educate our residents with what a healthy shoreline and healthy shorelands looks like, and whether that's part of planning applications in a tax mailing through the township office, etc. I know you've been willing to have our materials there in the past through the office, which is great, but maybe have a more proactive and active role in helping our members, new and old, because we've got lots of new people in the community, lots of people new to a rural waterfront living life. And so I think there's an important role for the people that may have the main contact with our residents, especially when they're considering planning or redevelopment, to support that work. And yeah, so that would be in the first instance, and right away, we'd hope you could support some work in that realm, but also again wanting to know about where you're at in terms of your zoning bylaws, which I know have been in various states of repair over the years, and I think it'd be helpful for enforcement staff, for the community in general, and residents wanting to be part of a sustainable community with clear rules that are modern and have some clarity, that have zoning bylaws that are up to date and current. And how do we enforce them? Because it's we don't, I know we all want to be supporting our neighbors and living a good life and enjoying their properties as best they can. We also need to understand there are people who are going to flout the law, and that we need to be able to have some measures to be able to do to set things right. The next slide. Yeah, so a concept that the planning for our shorelines came up with was environmental net gain. So when you're doing the redevelopment of a property, it's not just always about taking things away, but how do we develop in a way that's going to add something positive to the property and what it contributes to the community. So this is just another example of the kind of tool that can be made available and the kind of rationale that can be brought to advising people that are planning a development on their property on the lake, to plan for nature and building up nature's resilience, both for supporting the natural wildlife and habitat, water quality, and just the character in the community, which is an important part of why people love living where we live. So next slide. Yeah, so just a couple of other links and resources. Thanks to Alex for the FOCA commercial. That there's lots of resources that are available and free to use there. Watersheds Canada likewise has got examples of good information. There is a report from the Haliburton County Shoreline Preservation Review, which they did a couple of years ago, very useful. They sort of took one for the team and undertook a shoreline preservation perspective that really was novel, and undertook quite a bit of community consultation, which I think would be useful to save some heartache and learning from the lessons learned there. So just another resource I wanted to point out to you. Next slide. Yeah, and the rest of this is basically just some other resources that we wanted to make available to you. A link to North Kawartha. They've got a bit of a brochure, I think is on the next slide. Yeah, which just talks about, this may not be exactly what we might want to use, but this is certainly some comprehensive, easy to read, short examples of what to consider when developing on shoreland, and what the rules are, and how to find out more information. So next slide. Yeah, so this is the kind of thing. Pictures are good, right? The pictures of the good and bad, or better and not as good, shorelines is very helpful. And I think that's all I had. I'm not sure where we are in this slideshow, but basically all that information's been shared with you. It's in the PowerPoint. There's resources there, and Alex and I and others are available if you ever want to talk about this, and if we want to put something together that we think would strike a chord with the local community, and that would be helpful to your efforts for sustainable, orderly, and continued good development in Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So I think that was it for me, and happy to answer any questions or whatever you like.
Okay, thank you, Terry. And Alex, did you have anything to add there?
No, again, if you have any questions, I guess I just want to emphasize how our lakes seem, at least my lake for sure, and Chandos, they're very much in transition. So you're having, you know, a lot of, you know, older people either selling their properties or handing them over. And there is a different, in some respects, a different attitude towards these properties. And so I think we do need to pay a lot of attention in the next, you know, few years to what is going on. And we're not opposed to development, but we are very much for responsible development and sustaining the environment.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. I
have a couple of comments, but I'll open up to council.
Yeah, no, I'd just like to thank you for the presentation. You brought a lot of things forward here that, as you said, are quite often discussed at summer times around the lakes by neighbors. I really like your idea in terms of the education campaign. I think there's a lot of people that just aren't aware of it, and once we can make, not all of them, but a lot of them, once we can make them aware of it, I think then they can take action. They just don't know about maybe how to deal with some of these things. Just a question for you, Terry. Have you approached Crow Valley in terms of moving some of this forward? Because obviously we have power through our bylaws, but I mean, another authority is Crow Valley, who I think, you know, if they change their policy, it would make it a lot easier on our municipalities, instead of, because here we could have, you know, we could say something like no permanent docks, but Thorough Dummer might allow it. Whereas if this is really something we want, to me, it'd be convincing the conservation authorities, because they kind of have a broad-based power to enforce something like this, right? So I don't know if that's been undertaken, or I see you nodding, Terry, so.
Well, it's a good point, Art, because people their entry point to their redevelopment plans comes at different places, right?
Yeah.
The Lake Association hopefully gets at them at some point, but often they're already done their whatever. So they're going to have points of contact with the township to find out what's legal and what they might be allowed to do, get permits, etc. And likewise with the conservation authority. So this is a conversation we need to have with Crow Valley as well, because they've got obviously a critical role and resources. Likewise, we've shared stuff through the years with them, but definitely a great idea to make sure they're on board as well.
And we've got our mayor sitting on Crow Valley, so maybe he could push that forward. So no, just to wrap up, thank you to both of you. Really enjoyed the presentation, and thank you for all your work.
The conservation authority, though, like for instance, Jack's, we're not under a conservation authority. But what I wanted to add is that we are working with the county specifically, and that's very important for the official plan. And as that plan, the policies kind of seep down. So yeah, we're considering the big picture.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Yeah, so some of these things that we've done over the years with site plan control, we did that on the Jack's Lake development there and had some holdings on them to try and control what was happening there. I think there's so much opportunity, and this is one of those things, like you said, you work with HBMLA, or you're speaking similar to HBMLA. So between your group and HBMLA, there's an opportunity here to work together. We do have this environmental grant that, and whether it hangs in this year's budget, but we've had it over the years. This is exactly what it could be used for, is the Lake Association's put together a brochure. Like Terry said, you don't have to go too far to reinvent the wheel. So education's a big thing. And there's an opportunity to hit it right at the front when they're coming to the area. So a brochure would be really handy, I think, to start. And then when we get into our zoning, if we ever get our OP passed, we'll be able to start focusing on the zoning things that need to be done. It is needed, but they're again working with these groups to understand what they're looking for. That'll be a big part of it. So I think moving forward, we should be working together here. And you know, anytime you want to reach out, you know, I know our phones are open, and we can try and lead you in the right direction to help you with this. And hopefully we can get something moving. So
Thank you. Yeah, I think we agree. It's a bifurcated approach.
Yeah.
Education, and then also putting a little bit of teeth behind some of the zoning, some of the bylaws.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions? There's no open speaking in the, you're not a registered delegate or delegation, so sorry, but I'm not ignoring.
It's with the Lake Association.
Okay, all right, yeah, so Alex and Terry were listed here, so thank you very much. Do you have anything to add?
Sorry, through the mayor. So great presentation, Alex. Nice to see you again, Terry. I'd like to move that we accept this, and I'd like to see some more education too, obviously. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
A motion to receive the delegation. Moved by Councillor Clement, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thanks, appreciate your time, and I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks. All right, so moving on, staff reports for information. We have 3 reports for information. Is there any questions around them? Not, I'll take a motion to receive those. We have Parks and Rec update. Travis's official building department update, and Lionel O'Connell's with regards to the OPP billing statement.
I was wondering if I could just ask Lionel to come up and maybe comment on the OPP building statement in terms of the increases and what we might be seeing brought forth in our budget discussion, how it might affect our budget.
Huge, Jared. Yeah, this the subject of the report was quite a surprise to both myself and all the other treasurers and Ontario. So a couple of Fridays ago, as they do every year, the OPP released their annual billing statement, which both goes through what they expect their costs to be in the coming year and also reconciles the second previous year of costs from what they billed us to what they say their actual costs were. So this is something everybody expects every year. What I don't think anybody was expecting was the increase. And I want to make it clear that every municipality in Ontario is seeing these large increases. Some were as high as 30%. Ours was, I believe, 17.5%. Our impact on our 2025 budget would be 2.8% by itself, increase in the tax rate. Other ones we have up to a 4% increase that they're dealing with. So I think with the encouragement of Councillor Doherty, we thought it was quite important to bring this forward ahead of the budget discussions, because this is not just a little sort of budget challenge. This is going to affect every municipality in Ontario to a great degree. And I'm not sure if there's anything the municipalities can do to either have this phased in or decreased. There's a lot of discussion out there amongst municipalities about, I know a lot of this has to do with the settling of negotiations. It has to do with Bill 125, the taking away the right of the government to limit increases. So there's a lot of things that hadn't been decided perhaps fully last year when their annual billing statement came out. But the question surrounding a lot of people's comments include, well, some of this could have been accrued in some way. So it's a pretty huge issue, and just thought that it was something we should discuss ahead of budget discussions.
Thank you very much for that line, Leslie said. I just wanted to, I'm sure all members of council are aware of it because they read the report, but members of the public in terms of what we might be dealing with moving forward. We as a council obviously will do our best to keep that number low, but we're dealing with a number of factors here this year. I would, through you, Mr. Mayor, I would possibly suggest that we write a letter to our MPP, Mr. Smith, letting him know A, we're not happy about this increase, and B, to Lionel's point, as there are ways we can go about it, funding this moving forward, right? In terms of instead of taking this hit all in 1 or 2 years, to his point, it sounds like we're not the only municipality in this boat. So I'm hoping that if maybe our MPPs get enough letters that there could be some movement on this. So I'll make that motion, I guess, as we can receive and write a letter to Dave Smith.
Would you like to add, like, I'm just wondering about inviting the OPP in to explain because some of the things are, and I know when we went through this years ago, when there was a lot of spikes happening, it really helped to have them come and explain things. So you might want to add that to it, and invite them to come in, and it's easy to send a piece of paper, but tell us why it's there.
Yep, but yes, I'll include that in the motion then.
And seconder? All right, so let's move them second. Questions? Go ahead.
Just one. Did they talk to you at all? You just got this paper and that was it?
Yeah, sure. That's another issue that municipalities are having. There was no communication. We got the same letter that we always get. They do have a webinar coming up, I believe, in a month. But attached to this, there was no information. I was guessing, surmising that Bill 124 for 5 and the contract negotiations were a huge driver, and I'm sure they are, but that wasn't from any communication from them.
Okay.
Through you, Mayor Martin, just to follow up on the remarks of the treasurer. Over the years, we've seen here at the local council table, there is no negotiation with the OPP. Typically, what happens is we get these bills once a year, and there really is no discussion. I mean, the question was, were we called ahead of time? That rarely, if ever, happens. It's simply a bill that's sent to us, and we're expected to pay.
So, all right, so I have a mover and a second. Are there any other questions or comments? Councilor Doherty, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to add to the motion, a letter is fine to our MPP, but I think it would be nice for him to come and visit us as well. And I think probably should have done that prior to the letter coming out. But that's quite a whack. And I don't really understand the concept because it's called the Ontario Provincial Police, and it's HBM has to pay the cost. I guess I would like clarity from the OPP whether they're educating the criminals to make sure that they locate in certain areas so that they're billed properly, because that's unfortunately, it's spreading out. And with the catch and release program, it duplicates a lot of the cost, and our overrides are based on prison calls or all this other thing that goes along with it. The contract itself is, well, it's too much anyway, but it's fixed. It's the riders that kill us because it's the unknown. And I agree that 20 or 17% is a little heavy, and not to be given a heads up, I think is just terrible. Thank you.
Well, just sort of, and further to that, I think I asked Lionel, we got this increase, what, 6 or 7 years ago?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this is a one-off, but I kind of asked Lionel, and I don't think you really had the answer in terms of not necessarily there'd be another 17% next year, but that doesn't mean, I don't know, I haven't gotten confirmation that next year might not be another 5 or 6 on top of that 17, right? So when they redid it 6 years ago, I think we got the boost, so we went up whatever it was, 300,000 or 400,000. But it stayed pretty static for the last 4 or 5 years. In fact, I think this year or the year before, it was a little bit lower actually. So now we've been expecting this boost, obviously not that much of a jump. But what I'm worried about is this, are we gonna stay here for the next 5 or 6 years so we can kind of plan on that number and move forward? Or is that number gonna keep changing and going up year after year? That's what I'm worried about. So, and I really haven't got, I don't think finally.
through you, Chair, I don't have the answer, but I'm surmising that if part of this has to do with retro pay and the cost of retro pay for the wage restraint bill being taken away, in theory, it should go down by that amount. Now that amount, 4 or 5%, but yeah, as far as the bottom line going forward, it's really hard to say.
Thank you very much, Lloyd.
Okay, all right, so we have a mover and a seconder. I'll call a question, all in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
All right. Well, through you, Mayor Martin, just to clarify, the motion was to write the letter to MPP Smith and invite the OPP to explain the budget increase. I think there was a suggestion to invite MPP Smith to attend a council meeting as well.
Sure. Yeah.
If you wish to amend that motion, it's to invite MPP
Yep,
Smith.
that's good.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right then.
We may not get all 3, but we'll get maybe
Yeah.
2 of the 3.
All right, so do you need a question again then with that added to it?
We got it. It's
Okay.
good. Thank you.
All right then. So, all right then. So. Okay, so report or so motion to receive the balance of the staff reports for information then. By Councilor Clement, seconded by Councilor Flagler.
Oh, sorry. A question, this is is the reports part of the snowplowing quota, or is that the next?
That's in the next.
Okay. Confused sometimes.
All right then. So, all in favor? That's carried. All right, so now we're in staff reports with follow-up action. And the first item here is snow plowing quotations.
Roof. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pete.
Yes, good morning, Mayor Martin, members of council. I'm doing a Zoom today as I'm just kind of recovering from a little under the weather over the weekend. So normally I'd be in person, but the first report, the purpose of this report is to provide council with information of the submissions received for the snow plowing quotations for 2024 through to 2026. The council provide approval to award quotation PW-2024-06 snow plowing quotations for the 2024 through 2025 and 2025 through 2026 winter seasons to reline pavement in the amount of $24,140 for both seasons.
Then I'll open up the council. Gary, go ahead and then.
Pete, when did we change from 1 year to 2? And what were the costs for the last contract? I guess that would be 23, right?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Last year, this is the first year we've gone out for a 2-year contract. And last year for the 2023-2024 season, it was just over 10,000, I think 10,100 if my memory serves me correct, for the same quotations.
Any follow-up?
Yeah, if the timing of going the 2 years is kind of a little bit of a concern, because I think we got a roads needs study coming in, and some of the roads may change categories, and we're locked into a 2-year I don't mind the 2-year contract because we got cost certainty, but just was curious whether there's any thought on that.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I think it was to receive some solid pricing for 2 years. and also to know one contractor for the next 2 years instead of, and we grouped these together for that reason as well, as to have one contractor instead of having them separated out. So I think it was to lock in some better pricing over the next 2 years, but it's completely council's discretion. If we want to just go with the 1 year as stated in the report, we can easily do that as well.
Any other questions? No, okay.
I can't see the button. Good morning, Peter. So the contract for snow plowing is 24,000. You stated it was 10,000 for the 1 year last year, which consists of all those roads, correct? I don't see Cordova there. Like, where does Cordova fit in?
So through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Flagger. So there's two. This was the one up north. The one in Cordova we haven't put back out yet. It is a completely separate one, a separate quotation from this one. Per season, this quotation is $12,070. So it's an increase of approximately $2,000 per year.
Right. So in actual fact, by doing it by 2 years, we're not saving any money. They're actually charging us more.
Through you, Mayor Martin, that I can't honestly answer. I would say we know where we are for the next 2 years. I think the increase would be the same for this year, but that's completely up to the contractors who put in the submission.
All right. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, so what's council's thoughts here?
No motion to approve the recommendation.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we move the recommendation. Have a seconder. Second, Councillor Clement with a question.
No, through you, Mayor. I do like the idea for our budgeting the 2 years. You're right. We don't know what next year's increase is going to be. What is a normal increase, Pete, for snow plowing? Is it like a 2%, 5%? Do we know what it is normally as a rule?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Clement. No, I don't have any sense of an actual percent of an increase. I think a lot of it just depends on fuel and insurance on the private side for the contractors. So I couldn't give you an actual percentage.
Okay, that's fine.
So the reason you're seeing a lot of people not doing it anymore, mine went up 100%, my insurance went up 100% 2 years ago. I dropped out of it. I said, I'm not doing this anymore.
No,
so
fair enough. I like the
Yeah.
idea, we know the budget for it.
20%, but it would be good service.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next item here is the jug fill and water supply, Peter.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. The purpose of this report is to obtain council's approval to set the rates for the jug fill water supply station to $3 per 5 gallon or 18.9 liter container and $3.50 per cubic meter. Recommendation that council provide approval to set the jug fill water station rates to $3 per 5 gallon jug and $3.50 per cubic meter.
Right then, what's your thoughts here? Have you worked out all the technical things there, Peter? Is it almost ready to go, or are you still waiting for parts?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we've just received some emails this morning, so from the technical support team out west. So we're still in the works with the technical support team. So hopefully very, very soon.
Okay. All right then. So what's your thoughts, Councillor?
Through you, Mayor. So Pete, 2 questions. This is going to operate all year round when we get it going, right?
Through you, Mayor Martin, yes, that's correct.
And there'll be a sign on the other one telling our friends who drop in there to go to the new site?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, there will be some signs posted at the original water tap across from the office. It it is due to be closed. I believe there's a bylaw stating that is to be shut off today. So it's that might be a discussion for council if weather permitting, if we leave that on until we can get the new one up and operating.
Yeah, so that might be something like if we were to move this recommendation, if possible, because of the problems we're having there, it would be nice if there was I talked to Peter last week and there is a possibility of keeping it going for another week or two across the road until we get that working, and hopefully, because that was the idea, it was supposed to start up and that would shut off, but right now it's still not up and running yet. So depending on the weather, there is an opportunity to Councillor Flagler.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. My concern with that is, do we not shut the water off here every year? And
Yeah.
where do the people go to get the water? Where did you send them to get that water? So then what's the problem of shutting that off?
That's up to council, yeah.
I just don't understand why we're,
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
No, and I agree. We've always shut off this time of year. Let's go forward. I just wanted to make sure that when we do the new one is year round.
Yeah.
This one we've always shut off now, so no, let's,
Okay.
people are used to
But
it.
then, so just,
Yeah.
the motion would be what's written here, that, and just let council follow the policy and
Yep.
shut it off.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, so mover,
I do.
you're moving it and.
Oh,
And
yeah, whatever.
that's seconding.
This question, this question.
Yeah.
Pete, thank you very much for getting the comparative pricing here. Did you get a number from Foodland?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. They are the $3 per 18.9 liters. So the 5-gallon jug, they are the $3. But they do, they have the machine in the store, which does do, I believe it's a reverse osmosis and some more filters, where ours is just the town potable water coming out of the water tower.
And just for clarifications, the $3, that's the same price as every, we're not under, basically what I want to get is we're not undercutting any of our local businesses here, right?
No, through you, Mayor Martin. No, we're not. No, that's a generic too. Even in some of the surrounding villages, they were all, that $3 was the magic number.
Great. Thank you very much, Pete.
So I have a mover and a second. There's another question. Go ahead.
We're gonna have a review date in here on this, or are we just setting it and that goes in perpetuity, or are we gonna have an annual review, any reports coming out of it? Like, we're gonna set this up,
I like Councillor Doherty's idea, maybe today, if set a date for maybe the end of next summer or something, like, a year from now, so we can assess in terms of the revenue and whatnot's gone on over there. Is that too long?
well, I don't know, the deal was solved that we recoup our costs in a limited period of time. It'd be nice to know where we are. With the revenue stream, and prices change, water supply, and so on, that I don't think that we want to keep it down if everybody else is going up, is to kind of protect your point in our businesses as well.
So my only suggestion, why it would be that long, is that we get it to run it through the whole summer, right? To get a good look at it, instead of if we did it in the middle of summer, then we're only gonna have half the data. So
I'm flexible on the date as long as we have a review date, and I think we need some accounting too on this on a kind of a regular basis. I don't know what regular means, monthly, every other month, quarterly or something. Some idea as to how this is working, because it was a huge problem that we spent $100,000 to correct. It'd be nice to know how much we're actually.
So if I don't step on your toes, I'll make a motion that we have a review process the first meeting next September. And maybe Pete brings us a report bi-monthly, or I was gonna say quarterly, so quarterly, so every 3 months in terms of maybe the revenue that we're receiving from.
Let's know about the volume and revenue.
Is that sufficient? I don't.
Okay, I can look for that.
So we don't know what the volume was, but it's a 300% increase in the cost on crossing roads. So it should be good. Okay. All right then, so I have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Carried. Okay, next item here is the annual pumpkin parade, on November 1st. So we have a recommendation here. And that's that the council approve the relief of the
Yeah, I just motion to approve.
motion to approve. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb. Seconder?
Sorry, question. It's for $750 to do the parade.
Oh, and I understand the thing. Okay, yeah, so, so you're seconding?
Yes.
Are you second motion? That, because discussion comes after that. I was
Yeah.
wondering whether,
Yeah, so question?
whose initiative is it to bring the golf carts in for the seniors? Is that driven by the seniors or is that driven by the Pumpkin Parade Planning Committee?
I have no idea. Oh, so it's.
And,
All right, here
and,
we go.
and I guess the second part of that is whose insurance are we on? Because it's a fairly large item. Anyway, question.
Barry, the insurance question, our treasurer can answer that.
Through you, Chair, we have reached out to our insurance company. As of right now, they haven't got back to us regarding the coverage with our existing policy. So we were going to be following up in the next day or so to get clarification on that.
Okay, thank you. So just for clarity, if we approve this, that would be pending okay from the insurance company? We're not planning on going ahead if we don't receive assurance from the insurance company, are we? Final, or I don't know who's supposed to.
Through you, Chair, I think that would be a question for Sherry or Bob.
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
Well, to Lion's point, if the insurance company gets back and says that this isn't covered, are we still going to proceed with this or?
Through you, Mayor Martin, if the insurance indicates an issue with the motorized vehicles, we will not permit them in the Madison trip.
Perfect.
Just for clarification, I think it's a fantastic idea, and I hope obviously that this is something we can do because there are a lot of seniors that would like to enjoy this as well. So I'm not trying to poo-poo it or anything. I just we have to cover our butts here sometimes. So.
Yeah, Sarah.
Mayor Martin, forgive the delay. I was trying to wrap up a call while keeping an eye on what was happening in the council chamber. This is a terrific idea, one that will showcase the conservation area. So many of our seniors aren't aware that the trails have been rehabilitated. So many of them could be using them because you can use them, whether that's with a walker or even a wheelchair. We've seen that with our pumpkin parade. With the pumpkin parade, we thought this would be a wonderful idea, assuming that one, we can get permission to use the, I'm not sure what to call them. If you've been at the Norwood Fair, there are more than one of them that allows you to convey people behind a motorized vehicle, whether that's an ATV or a tractor. In most cases at the Norwood Fair, it's a tractor. Paul Quinlan is our contact there, and he hasn't returned our calls yet, but he's been pretty busy with the Norwood Fair. And we would not move forward without having the full permission, one, to use it, and the second, of course, with insurance. But that's where we are. We wanted to make sure that we had the option of doing that if we could pull all the details together.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I'm just one, Jim. Hi, Sherry. Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning.
Last year we did the approval for off-road vehicles on there because I don't recall that from last year.
Pardon me, through you, Mayor Martin. No, we didn't have relief from the bylaw last year.
So this relief is for the vehicles for the seniors to drive through? And how are you going to close that for walkers? And when will it be closed?
Through you, Mayor Martin, that's an excellent question. So in the planning of this event, we want to have a period of time that's dedicated to moving seniors through the Matheson Trail. So that means that there would be no pedestrian walking through. We would have our volunteers manage that. So between 4 and 5, that's the time frame. While it's still bright out, where they can enjoy all the colors, they'll see the pumpkins. The pumpkins will be laid out, but they won't be lit. And at 5 p.m., the seniors will come off the trail system, or slightly before, I suspect, but certainly by 5 p.m. And then typically we'll see youngsters, kiddos that start to come in around the 5 to 5:30, just at dusk. And we move forward with our parade.
Okay. My only concern with that though, are we going to reintroduce four-wheelers to the Matheson property? Because once people see that four-wheelers are going through there now, is that gonna be an issue?
Through you, Mayor Martin, our goal is never to convey the message that four-wheelers are okay. I'm not entirely sure if four-wheelers are the best idea to convey. Perhaps a small tractor is a better conveyance for this, as long as it's narrow enough to get through the pinch point is the actual dam area. So as long as it's narrow enough to get through that, I think it would be fine. But I see your point, and that's one of the reasons why we have to request the 2-day allowance. Otherwise, we wouldn't move forward with it.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon.
Maybe the sidewalk unit will pull it through.
Through Mayor Martin, that's an excellent idea. Maybe I could talk to Bill about it. I'm not sure if there's a tow hitch on it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I have a mover and a seconder, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and second by Councillor Clement. And
Question, can you read what we're approving back, please? Sorry.
Council is approving the relief of the off-road vehicle bylaw 2024-024 for 2 days, November 1st and 2nd.
Okay.
And council approves in advance the insertion of a pumpkin parade flyer with pumpkin collection instructions into the village October 2025 utilities billing.
the insurance part's not in that, so it should be in there that, on.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the insurance, appropriate insurance is obtained before we can move ahead with it. So we're approving in principle.
Well, approve everything, and then in terms of the motorized tour or whatever, yeah, that would be dependent on approval from insurance.
Okay.
Follow up with you, Mayor Martin. The brochure. We get a look at it, or will be brought back to council? What's it going to look like?
Through Mayor Martin, our plan would be to present to you a flyer. We'll work with the administrative staff to know what is the most convenient, most least obstructive approach to it. Something they do often, so I'm sure they'll give us good guidance, and we can certainly bring it forward. It's to make sure that we don't lose sight of it coming into the new year next year.
Yeah, I realized the timing was an issue, and I said getting ahead of the curve is good. I just didn't know what it would look like and whether it's coming back.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I don't know what that looks like at this point either.
So I can jump. So through you, Mayor Martin, we'll bring it back to council beforehand in advance, so council can have a preview and approve it prior to it being mailed out.
Okay. Yeah. All right then. So we have a mover and a seconder. Any other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. All right. So the next item on here is electoral ward system bylaw for adoption.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So this report presents the electoral ward system revision bylaw as per public consultation earlier this year and previous discussions at council. And as for the notice that has been sent out and has been published on our social media platforms, today we present the bylaw to change the electoral system from a ward system to an at-large system.
What the recommendation is here.
The recommendation is to approve the bylaw in the bylaw section of today's meeting.
All right then. So do you want to go right to the bylaw or just do this part first?
No, we can do this part first. And if
Okay.
you approve this part, I assume we're going to
Yeah.
approve the bylaw.
All right. So we have, so you're moving the
I'm moving to pass.
recommendation. Yeah. So moved by Councillor Clement. Second. Councillor Doherty. Okay, any questions, comments? Yep, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin, just a further comment, just to clarify, there is an appeal period on this bylaw. So we will be issuing a notice of passing, which then allows for a 45-day appeal period.
Yeah. All right, so we have a mover and a second. All in favor? And that's carried. All right then. The next item on here is, almost lost it, construction management services. So we have a recommendation here.
Motion to approve. We already kind of discussed it.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we move ahead with this recommendation. Second by Councillor Flagler. Questions, comments?
I'll ask the same question again, and now that we've got it broken down, is there an additional cost for this manager, or is it simply window dressing to control the sub-trades? Like, is it part of Mortlock's bid that they're going to provide that construction, and we're just approving them? I'm a little fuzzy on that. Just help me out for the slow ones, Bob.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, this is the fee for Mortlock Construction to provide the construction management service for this project.
Got the questions? Okay, so that was moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Flagler. Any other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. And then next item here, I'm just trying to go through these ones here and then we'll take a break. Library agreements, Cordova Rec Association. A lot of work on this, so what's the thoughts?
So yeah, just a question. This has been, I think last meeting we asked that they got sent to Cordova and everything's been okayed by the group.
Following the publication of the agenda last week, this agreement was sent to Cordova Rec Association. This agreement does include revisions. There are two revisions to this agreement. The initial revision was sent to both the library board and the Cordova Rec agreement. This new agreement reflects changes that were requested. This version of the agreement was sent last week to both groups.
And both were.
I've received no comment from either.
Okay, thank you. So I'll make a motion to.
So moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second. Majority. Any questions? Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin. What were the changes that were made?
The kitchen, I think is the.
What were the two changes that were made?
Through you, Mayor Martin, there was feedback that requested exclusive use of the kitchen, and staff came up with a compromise to create a kitchenette for the librarian, for exclusive use of the librarian. So that's included in the agreement, the exclusive use of the kitchen by the Cordova Rec Association. And also the cleaning of the common areas within 24 hours.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. So we're in a seconder. Any other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. The next item here is the Norwood Medical Center proposal.
Break.
I said at the end of this. So.
Yes, we can't do.
So, okay, so. There's a couple of options, so.
So through you, Mayor Martin, department managers are currently going through their budget processes in preparation for budget discussions with council. This is an item that came to us as per a delegation in June. from the mayor of Norwood and the chief administrative officer of Norwood. There was a proposal put forward. We are bringing this forward as two options. Option one is to thank Norwood for their proposal, but refuse to participate. And option two is to move this to budget discussions and have a further conversation about it to fully clarify the numbers involved and to make a final decision whether to participate or not. We're presenting option two as an interim step. We all understand the goal for HBM is to have our own medical center with our own doctors. That is going to take, that's a longer term goal. This, if council so chooses, this option may present an immediate solution to those who wish to be rostered with a doctor.
All right, so there's the two options, and personally, I'm in favor of option one, and I know we have to do something in the budget process as far as planning for the future. But at this time, I think it was kind of late coming in to ask us after they've already created a business plan and they're taxing the ratepayers $430,000 for admin work over there, and now they want us to help with it. We may have to, and that may be what the public wants. We are going to be going through a town hall eventually here, I think in November. And, you know, we may come up with our own plan. I think when we sold the medical center, I had full intentions when we were doing that, that I thought we were going to be looking at our own medical services. So I wouldn't want to see us use that money to help subsidize this project, but that's just my feelings here for now. Like you said, in the budget process or in the future, we may want to jump in, but at this time, I just think it's premature to even get in for a temporary thing, because I don't know how you get out then. So,
I read it differently. I don't read option two as getting into anything. I think it just moves it down the road 2 months to have a discussion. I wasn't aware of this open house or whatever we're having. Are we having an open house to discuss this?
It's
This isn't, I don't.
we talked about it before, but Richie is going to be, she's doing town halls all over. She's just trying to line up a date here.
Who talked to her about it? I don't remember.
She talked to us
here.
Yeah.
But do we have a date yet?
No, and she's coming up with that. I'm supposed to meet with her on the 30th of October.
So we're not.
I don't have it yet, no, but she said in November she would like to have it, but, and I want to get together with her, but, haven't been able to.
I just don't see the problem with us. For us to make a decision here, I'm really worried about that we're gonna make a hasty decision and be left out of something here. Maybe it's something that we don't want to get into, but I don't think that personally for myself that I really know enough about what I'm being asked in terms of what the ask is from over there. I'd like to have a little bit more information. And I think with, well, I won't let that out here in open, but I just think that the ball's moving in this court. I don't think that, as I said, the information that we might have got a month or two ago about the Norwood plan could change in terms of that. And if we gave it a month or whatever, like I said, to me, I would like to maybe kick this back to after, if you can get a date for this meeting with Laura Ritchie, maybe we could address this after that. But I honestly haven't heard anything come out of her mouth that leads me to believe that, you know, we're going to see a doctor here in Havelock anytime soon. So I'm not trying to besmirch her. I'm just saying, you know, I've been hearing this for a number of years that I've been on council in terms of, you know, we're going to get a doctor. Nothing has come to fruition. We have an offer there. There's a number, obviously, you know, to some people, and one number might be high. I understand, but I think it's something that now that it's out there in this report, it's something hopefully that members of our community are learning about. I personally haven't got a lot of feedback. I wish more people would contact me to let me know what their feelings are, because as I said, I don't want to make this decision on my own based on what I feel. I'd like to be representative of what our residents want. And as I said, I just think it would be better if we, you know, don't jump the gun here. If we could possibly put this off for a month and a half until we've had the meeting with Miss Ritchie. I would feel much more comfortable in terms of just having all the information to make such a decision.
And that's, yeah, I wouldn't want to close it off completely. So if there's a way of deferring it for 2 or 3 months, but if we're going to pay $100,000 to Norwood to be on this list, we might be able to use that to help.
Completely understood, but I think the way I read it is we're not committing to that. We're just committing to discussing it possibly at budget times. Am I right, Bob?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's option 2.
That is
But
correct.
I appreciate the mayor's point to it. Like, I'm not ready to commit 108,000 today either. But I would like to have more information about what's going on, as I said, possibly after
Yeah. Okay.
the moving bar. So,
Yeah.
Should we make a motion?
but yeah, sorry, I'll make that motion then.
Okay. So
Apologize.
we have a mover and I'll just look for a seconder and then I'll open it up. Is there a seconder
I'll
for
second
that
it.
option?
You're deferring it. We're deferring it.
We're going with option 2 to keep the line of communication open. We're not committed to it yet.
Yeah, there's no commitment in that,
No
right?
commitment.
There's no commitment in it. It's simply being moved to budget discussion.
Yeah.
We're accepting option 2, but it's basically a deferral.
Okay, because I just worried about the percentage, because we're talking budgets, we've already got this increase, now we're talking this increase, so that was my concern.
Okay, Bev and then Jerry.
Through you, Mayor Martin. I am actually not for deferring it. I do believe that this town can get a doctor at some point. We haven't had one for 25 years, so this isn't new. And I'm not a fan of paying for healthcare on my taxes. Sorry, that's just the way I feel. So I am for option 1. I think we're doing option 2, but all we're doing is deferring. And that's kind of unfair when it comes to Norwood because they're looking at their taxes or their budgets right now. So they're expecting this money. So when we defer, we're saying, okay, well, maybe pay you later. No, option 1, and I'm not willing to pay for healthcare on my taxes.
And I appreciate your point about not wanting to pay for healthcare. This is an upper tier responsibility. This isn't something that we should be dealing with at municipal level, but the fact is, it's in our lap. And to your point about not doing that, that's what Duro Dummer is referred it to their budget discussions, and that's what other municipalities that Norwood's been dealing with have done. They said,
So, okay, so there will be a lot more discussion on it, Bev, as far as to go to the next step, but right now, yes, this is a deferral, but it keeps the line of communication open, and it's that's the main thing we want to do. It's just how we get there. Councilor Clements, or no, sorry, Councilor.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, thanks. Through Mr. What is the meeting going to establish for us? I guess that's what I'm trying to establish, is because I read probably every week about the exact problems we have with recruiting. There's a lack of doctors, retirement, the new tax laws, all these things we're well aware of, and we know we don't have enough. We have a fairly large sampling from citizens, 721 of them, that have indicated to us what they will want. Now, we're going to regurgitate that thing at a town hall meeting? Is that the idea? I just don't know the purpose of the town hall meeting, so we can decide on whether 1 or 2. So maybe you can enlighten me, Mr. Mayor.
So the idea of having these town halls, I think, is to hear from the public, just like the mayor said.
721.
That's who isn't rostered, but are they happy with us going to Norwood? That'll be the question. Maybe they'll be unanimous there and say, just get me a doctor. I don't mind driving to Norwood. They may come out and say, you're in charge of getting us a doctor. Get me a doctor in town. Just like we worked on in past councils, we had the hospital sending doctors over here to help us. So the people didn't have to leave town to get a doctor. Maybe they'll be saying, I'd be quite happy with a nurse practitioner. We were the first township in the area to have a nurse practitioner. So there's other options out there. It's to get it on the floor with the public. We'll try and deal with the public. And you know what? They may say this is great. And if that's what they say, we still have an opening here to get into it. There may be nobody show up, but I don't expect that. I'm thinking you're going to see, because it probably will be, it might not be just for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. It may be for the eastern side of the county. And then our people have an opportunity to speak, because I have heard, I haven't had them lining up at my door, but when we sold the medical center, the idea when we sold it was we would look at a new one or something, and we haven't got there yet. if we're willing to put $108,000 into Norwood, we may be able to come up with something. Maybe that's enough to encourage a doctor to come here. Over the years, I've dealt with lots of doctors, whether they retiring on the lake and they want to just a little simpler lifestyle and they want to maybe open a practice here. Maybe they're out there. I don't know, but that's what a town hall is all about. When you hold them, hopefully you get a good turnout. We hear from the people that we're serving, and hopefully it'll make our decision a lot easier on this. It might be even cloudier, but hopefully we get a good representation there that we can try and make a good decision here without jumping today. So that's just, so I don't know when the date is. She said in November she would like to have one. I think she was talking with the CAOs, and maybe you know more about it, Bob. I don't know. Like, is the CAOs meet every week?
No, through you, Mayor Martin, I don't have anything else to add other than we did receive an email. She's requesting to come to all the townships. And that's all we know. So we're in the process of trying to establish a date for that, but that's all I know at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So she is on your CAO calls weekly? Or you?
No, she's not, no, every so often she appears, but not monthly.
So for today, we do have a motion with option 2, and it'll open up for further discussion future, but it's not committing us to it. So have a mover and a seconder. All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor? And that's great. So, okay. All right then, so I'm gonna suggest we take a break here for 10 minutes, and we'll come back at actually 15 minutes. We'll come back at 20 to 12. So a motion to recess. Deputy Mayor Webb, Councilor Doherty, all in favor? Carried. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Jerry.
Let's see, I'll get a motion to resume the meeting, moved by Councilor Doherty, second Councilor Clement, all in favor, that's carried. All right then, so we're gonna move into correspondence. We have 2 action items here. One is from Ken and Carol Samard with regards to a road allowance request. So, refer to staff. Yeah, look for a motion to refer that to staff. Moved by Councilor Doherty, second by Councilor Clement. All in favor? And that carries. Okay, and the next item here is the location to park school bus. This is something I think we've all, or a lot of us have been asked on from different drivers running into a predicament with parking their buses. So I just wonder if we could refer that to the roads and staff and see if there's any opportunities to help out with something like this. So that.
Yeah, I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor. I've been contacted by a couple of individuals as well. It behooves me as to why the transportation company they're working for doesn't provide them a place to park. And I understand maybe we're on the outskirts of the county here, and wherever their yard is far from here, but at the very least, couldn't they be parking them on school property as well? Like, to me, there's a number of solutions to this, that maybe we can look into as well, but I'll move your motion in terms of having directing the staff and exactly to find a solution to this problem.
Yeah, that's and you're right. And the one letter that I had from or it was a text actually, and she just said that their company would give a correspondence saying that for any of the things around it as far as liabilities and that, they would take care of a letter for that. They didn't say any money, but they said a liability relief.
Oh, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
But here, exactly.
Yeah.
We're trying to help people out, but we can't just have
That's right.
open parking lots all over the township here.
So just see if there's any opportunity, and it'll still come back to council. So. Okay. Right, somebody want to? Okay, move Arts and Chappie. Any other questions around that? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, so we have correspondence for information here. Anything there or that we wanted to speak to? If not, I'll look for a motion that we receive the balance of the correspondence. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we receive the balance. Second. Mr. Clement? Any questions on any of that stuff? All in favor? Okay. Committee liaison reports, there's nothing for, we didn't have a meeting last month.
Due to unforeseen circumstances, there was no county meeting.
Yeah. So. Okay, and I don't have any, written note motion, is there any oral notice motion for today? And there's no other business, so. With that, I'll move into the bylaws. And up here, we will be passing. Okay, so the first item here is zoning amendment for person. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second. Councilor Flagler. All in favor? That's carried. The next item is with regard to dissolving the ward system. Council Clement, Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. And the next item here is the Cordova Rec Association and the library agreement as printed. Councilor Doherty and Councilor Flagler, all in favor, and that's carried. All right then, so that's it for the open session. I'll look for a motion here to go into.
Oh, we have his draw.
Oh, sorry. Okay, whose turn is it now?
Bob.
Bob, have you done it yet?
Yikes, that's a lot of pressure.
Well, today's draw concludes our HBM Shop Local contest. We started in May, and so today's the last one. And we're going to have our CAO draw. And before we do that, our top 3 retailers, and it's certainly from my earliest analysis, retailers have had the most entries. So Foodland, Timber Mart, and the beer store. That's hard to ask.
You think?
There may be a profile in there, I'm not sure.
Our residents have heard.
I took my glasses
Yes,
off.
that's right. You can't see.
Everything's blurry. I can't see, so I can't cheat. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah, I get one or
Got
two.
one, you got
Got
one.
one. Got it. Okay, go.
Okay, so of the 55 entries, Janet Peckford is this week and our final contest winner. So I'll contact Janet. Thank you.
Okay, just quick. That being the last draw of the season, I'd just like to thank our Economic Development Officer, Sherry, very much for all her work. This is a new initiative we've taken on since she's come on board, and I think done a fantastic job and is being very well received by the residents of our community. So hopefully we can keep it going and make it bigger and better next year. But thank you for all your hard work on this, Sherry.
Thank you. And I should mention that as part of our budgeting exercise, I have brought that forward for our 2025 budget. And as part of that, I'll be able to summarize the success rate and also some of the lessons learned in terms of expanding upon it to make sure that all sectors are taking advantage of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right then, so the next item on here is closed session, and this is closed session held under the authority of section 239(2)B for personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal and local board employees, section 239(2)I for trade secrets, scientific, technical, commercial, financial, and labor relations information. Motion to go into close, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councilor Doherty. All in favor? That's carried. So we are going into close. All right, we're back in open. So we have a couple of resolutions.
Through you, Mayor Martin, the first motion business arising from closed session would be that council hereby approves the telecommunications site agreement between the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen and Rogers Communication Inc. for a cell tower to be located at West Kosh Transfer Station, located at 445 West Kosh Road, as attached to the closed session report of the Chief Administrative Officer Clerk, dated October 15, 2024. And further that the chief administrative officer clerk is hereby authorized to sign the telecommunications site agreement on behalf of the township.
And they're getting a good deal, add that in.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Doherty, second by Councilor Clement. All in favor? Carried.
By chance.
I see your hand up, sorry. Okay, and next one.
And the second motion would be that the application to waive the building permit fee as per the report of the chief building official is hereby denied.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councilor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. All right, that concludes the meeting. I'll look for a motion for the confirming bylaw for the proceedings of today's meeting. So moved by Councilor Clement, second Councilor Flagler, all in favor, and that's carried. And motion to adjourn, Deputy Mayor Webb and Councilor Doherty. All in favor. Thank you.